The Feed.
What do the most popular podcasts in 2023 from Apple and Spotify have in common? Is my beloved Castro Up closing down? Submitting your show to the Black Podcasting Directory? Tips for inviting a celebrity to be a guest on your podcast? Seasonal audience versus weekly audience, which is best? And the latest podcast advertising rates. Hello, I am Elsie Escobar, Director of Community and Content for Libsyn, and this is episode 257 of The Feed, the official Libsyn podcast, the podcast that takes it beyond how to podcast into keeping you podcasting with podcasting tips and information for the everyday podcaster and taking you inside Libsyn. As always, we would adore to feature you on the show. Please send in your 30-second promo. How do you do it? Attach it to an email and send it to thefeed@libsyn.com. If you don't have a promo but you want your voice on the show, ask us a question or add to the conversation that you hear on an episode, send us voice feedback. You can call us at 412-573-1934, or you can use SpeakPipe at speakpipe.com/thefeed. I cannot wait to hear from you. It is all first come, first serve. So the sooner you get your info to me, the sooner you'll get into the queue. And now on to our main conversation with Rob Walsh, VP of Podcaster Relations at Libsyn, as well as my co-host right after the first promo of the episode, The Reframables.
Dear Reframables, welcome to our podcast.
I'm Nat.
And I'm Beck.
Two very different sisters who try to reorient life through the stories we tell.
We call it reframing.
Sometimes we do it through conversations, just the two of us.
And sometimes we bring in artists, thinkers, and creators to help us along.
Always, we like to leave you with some new reframable to chew on
as we work through life's big and small stuff together.
Hello, Rob.
Good generic time of the day, Elsie.
Happy almost end of the year. This is our second to last episode. Let's make it count. Just kidding.
Well, and then we have to start off with what Elsie is going to be the saddest story we have covered on the show, maybe ever.
Yes, for me, for my heart. Yes, for sure.
And this is heartbreaking, this one. And I'll have a link to an article on Jason Snell. Thanks for that. That's where I learned about this one. Thanks for the heads up. And a couple of days ago, and a week plus ago now, by the time you hear this, the Castro app had a database issue, as in it broke. And as of the recording on the 30th, it was not fixed yet. Now comes word that the Castro app may be, and we'll put quotes here, maybe closing down in the next couple of months, at least according to Mohit Mamroria, who was with the investment team that owns Castro.
Well, I think that he used to work at Castro. That's what he said. He said that he used to work. His exact quote was, I think I wrote it down, used to be part of the Castro team.
Okay.
So
Tiny Capital is the company that owns Castro.
This is what Mohit said. He said, yes, that's all he said. He said, who used to be part of the Castro team, direct quote from his X account.
But he said that the Castro team said it will be closed down in 2 months. Again, that's just from a tweet on X.
Yes.
Take it for what that is worth by someone that's no longer working at Castro. Nothing official yet from the current Castro team. They did not reply to Jason Snell's outreach for confirmation. I also sent an email to Andrew, the head of Tiny, the company that owns Castro, asking if this is true. Again, at this point, nothing is confirmed about Castro closing. It is just based on one tweet from one former employee, and that's it, combined with the fact that the Castro app is actually broken. And until they fix it, it seems most can't even export their subscriptions. So what are you seeing on this, Elsie? I mean, you use the app. What's your experience been?
My experience there has been for sure a shift in my everyday consumption. Man, do you remember that I'm testing the betas all the time. So I started to kind of go, well, maybe the beta is a little buggy, right? Because that happens when you have a beta. Absolutely. And and it gets buggy. And I thought, well, obviously the regular Castro is fine because I hadn't been, listening to that one. But I had noticed a lag specifically in the database for a while now. Again, I put it off because I was using the beta. And the other thing is...
So you mean if you had told them about this lag a while ago, you might have solved this problem ahead of time?
Well, I believe I probably wasn't the only one that could have said that. But anyway, there was a lag. There were little things like that I started to notice that I was going, wait, let's say an episode would drop from particularly a newish podcast. It didn't show up in Castro right away. It took a while. It took sometimes a day and a half for the latest episode to show up. At times when an episode was released for some of the shows that I had been subscribed to or followed on that app, that episode didn't drop. And the reason I noticed this is because there were a few of the episodes last year that I wanted to listen to right when they dropped because it was breaking news and everybody was talking about the one thing. And I was like, wait, why is it not showing up in Castro? So I would end up going to Spotify and I would listen to the episode there. And then a couple of days later, it would pop up. So I thought, well, okay, that's annoying,
Mm-hmm.
but I just kind of kept going off. And then in Thanksgiving, my queue was so jam-packed. I have hundreds of podcasts in my queue, which means they're all downloaded and they're all ready to consume. So I didn't know that anything was missing until I went through my handful of podcasts that I listen to religiously, that every single week I consume those guys. And because it was a long weekend, I finished everything. So I caught up with everyone. And I thought, oh my gosh, I kept looking at my inbox because that's the future. And I didn't see any new episodes for any of my podcasts after Thanksgiving. And I thought, oh, well, I guess people totally took time off. Maybe they're not publishing, I then started to go like, wait, it's way too long now. It now was Saturday and there were no new episodes. Then it was Sunday and there were no new episodes. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong. And so I went ahead and I looked online and I saw that there was a database issue there. And I was sort of bummed, which is when I then popped into Pocket Casts and I started listening to all my podcasts that were there. And that's what I found out. So I was kind of very sad.
I am sorry again for this news. Hopefully we'll hear something back. And I am sure more on this story to come on the next episode of the feed. I'm hoping that this isn't true. I'm hoping that the app will continue on because Castro app is one of the more popular independent apps out there. And as we all know, Elsie's favorite.
Yep. And I have had moments in the past few years where I have been so emotionally attached to the idea of the app existing, just being there, and how my whole body gets so thankful about the app existing. And I didn't even want to think about the app not existing. And when this conversation started, I think I had to, this is so sad for me to say, Rob, but I had to really take my heart out of it because it's too traumatic. It literally is. It has been such a huge part of my life for so long. And it's my daily driver. It is what is in my face all day, every day. I see Castro all day, every day. And if I get emotionally attached, I'm going to be sort of incredibly devastated. I just can't let it happen. So I had to turn it off, completely detach, and go about my business of listening to podcasts somewhere else. And I have a lot of thoughts about the state of podcast consumption via app. But I think right now, one of the most astounding things that I have seen in the app world is that no one has tried to copy Castro. And that to me is a shame. It's a shame because there's no other app that does things the way Castro does it. They figured out the inbox queue consumption workflow at the most basic, easiest level. There are many, many other apps out there that do so many fancy things, and they do their thing. But no one does it in the way that Castro does it in this way. And it's such a simple workflow that I'm not sure why somebody else hasn't even thought, wow, I can just copy this and make another app, because it's so simple and it's so easy to listen. In even diving right now, there were some apps where I couldn't find because this is another problem, people. And I guess now this is, might as well tell you guys this now. And I think that this isn't really the case for a lot of apps, but obviously whenever you use a new app or change apps, for most apps, you can export your data, meaning you can export via OPML. And that means that you get all of the information for all of the apps that you subscribe to, podcasts that you subscribe to, and you can import them into another app so that it saves you all kinds of time to get your stuff back. And you could just transport it to another place. Because of the database issues, I could not export my podcasts out of Castro. And this is very hard. Mind you, though, I had in the past exported it and imported it into many different apps because I test apps all the time. So I had done that, but the latest and greatest information wasn't there. The latest episodes or podcasts that I had subscribed to. So this is heartbreaking for me. And then started to make me think there has to be something that I can do to also back up my database. Like, how do I do that? I'm not sure how to do that. Do you know how to do that? Because I know how to move it from one place to the next, but having it periodically backed up.
Well, maybe,
somewhere.
Usually it says an OPML file. If you can send it to your desktop, every now and then you may want to do that. Just send out that OPML file. And by the way, there is an update from 30 minutes ago from the Castro podcast team. Update, we're back online now. You might still experience some slow refresh in the app, but it should get faster over time. Thank you for your patience. And again, that was from 30 minutes ago.
Okay. And I mean, I did test it yesterday evening, and I did start to see that the shows started to pop in, which is awesome, right? I was very happy to see that. But again, it is just one of those things where if I can't export my stuff, I don't know how to make sure that it's there. And I think there are other things that really made me sad too, is the history. Like, I really refer to my history a lot. It's something that we don't often pay attention to. It's sort of, whenever you're in your Netflix queue or whatever, and you forget, or you're like watching a video on YouTube and you're like, what was that one? There's something about being able to see what you've watched when you've watched it, or things that are there for you as a consumer that you build up over time. You don't spend like all the time curating this, that when it was gone, it's like, oh no. What did I listen to 2 days ago? I want to reference that episode of whatever show I was listening to. And so it's heartbreaking. And I think that I'm going to call out one last thing here. Even though the Castro team has been slow in communicating with their users, with people who use their app and their fans and people who just love it. And they could have for sure have had any communication, not even better communication, any communication, an email, something to reach out to folks. I'm kind of disheartened in some way to see the post that came from that, what is his name? Mohit Mamoria.
Yeah.
Because it felt that kind of undercut the communication that was coming straight from the team themselves. And it might, even though maybe it is true and Castro is going to disappear by the beginning of, by the end of this year, because that's a couple of months from now. Maybe that is true. But maybe there are some team members that were working diligently on the Castro team, and this might also have been news to them. And to have somebody in the leadership position go out on social and post something that might be news to even their own team, I don't think that that's a very smart move, and it really demoralizes the team.
Mm-hmm.
And for somebody who, or for a team that I've really cared for over the years, it really makes me mad. And then when other people report on that and say that that has the language as if it is 100% confirmed, again, I don't want that until it's actually true. I don't want that. And I know that, you want to let people know what it is. So I really appreciate Jason Snell's article because he really summed up, I think, what was going on. And I also very much appreciate the headline that he used, that it says Castro app goes down and may be dying, because I do feel that there's truth in that it may be. It's just not quite, we don't know yet, even though, I don't know. I'm holding on for hope, mind you. It is an emotional issue for me. So anyway, let's move on. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, and by the way, you can, in the app, if you go under settings and then user data, you can export, and it is exporting as an OPML file, and you can email that to yourself. So
yeah, no, but what I'm telling you, Rob, is that I know, obviously, but it was not working. Because
it's working now. I just did it.
Okay, because the export feature was that's what I'm saying. It was in a cloud database. Right. It was in the database itself. So even though I wanted to do that, it kept timing. It was just saying error.
Oh, yeah. No, I understand that was there. I'm saying that how theirs does do it as an OPML. And if you do have, no matter what app you're using, whether it's Overcast or if it's any of the apps, many of them have that export feature. To your point, you may want to just periodically do an export of your OPML and just have it somewhere in a folder somewhere that you can then use on another app if you ever need to for any reason. That's the backup.
I think that it would be amazing as for app developers now to have the option, maybe a premium option. I mean, I'm happy to pay for something like this, to have automatic backups to email, so that you can set it up. I know that there's an app that did that for another type of information that I was using for a while. And I kind of, not for podcast listening by any means at all, but it was information that was in there, and it said, do you want to set up automatic backups? And it would send me every month, it would send me my data, and it was in a little file, and it would just send it to me. And that way I knew that it was being backed up, because I'm not going to remember. I mean, I could barely remember to wash my face at night. So.
Well, I will say this. We don't know what's going on with Castro's future, but we do know this right now. The export does work. So if you are using Castro, you want to, at this point in time, absolutely export your OPML, email it to yourself, and hold on to that OPML file in case you do have to move in the future. So that would be for all Castro users. And again, any app you're using out there, because there's not a good business model in podcast aggregator apps, do that OPML export right now from your favorite app and have that set aside. That's our recommendation. That's the whole story, is back up your data.
Yeah, all the way around, everybody, all the way around.
Hey folks, Future Elsie here. A couple of days after we recorded the episode, Castro finally released an update on their blog, and this is what it said. Quote, "We are here to address recent concerns and provide you with an update regarding the future of the Castro app. First and foremost, we sincerely apologize for the app downtime and any distress it has caused. Initially, we had believed it was a quick back-end fix, but unfortunately, the issues turned out to be more complex than anticipated, requiring extensive work. During this time, there were rumors circulating about Castro's future. We want to make it clear that any communication or publication regarding the app's future is not official and does not represent Castro's views. While it is true that we have experienced departures within our company, we want to assure you that we are actively working with a lean, dedicated team to address these challenges. We apologize for any unnecessary panic that may have arisen from these conversations. We believe in transparency with our community and want to share with you that we are actively seeking a new home for Castro with new owners. Our goal is to continue providing you with the app you love, but with even better features and improvements. We truly appreciate all the love and support that you have shown us thus far. We understand your investment in Castro and acknowledge the anxiety that this week has brought. Rest assured, we will keep you promptly updated as soon as we make any decisions regarding Castro's future. Thank you for your patience and unwavering support. Sincerely, Castro Podcast Team. End quote. I'll have a link in the show notes to that blog post. Now, both Rob and I got direct confirmation from current and interim Castro leadership that it was closing in a couple of months. That is almost the exact quote. That said, there is space for a strategy to keep the app going. And as with many things in tech and companies, things change from moment to moment. Onward.
But speaking of podcast apps, Apple shared their most popular podcasts of 2023. As of last week, there's a list. We will put a list in the show notes so that you can see the charts. And they are actually available if you go inside of Apple Podcasts in the Browse tab all the way through the end of the year. So they're called the top charts there. You are able to look at all that stuff and you can see the top podcast overall, the top new shows that debuted this year, the most followed shows, the most shared shows and episodes, and the top free and subscriber channels. And I believe that you also can see this based on your region. So the region that you have for wherever it is that you're listening in the world from, it will be reflective of your geographic location, which I think is kind of nice as well. I believe that this is true. So given all of that, Rob, are there any news or any surprises or any thoughts around these top lists?
Spotify also came out with their top 10 list. So I thought,
okay,
why don't we say, here's the top 10 in 2023 from Apple, here's the top 10 from Spotify, and just contrast that a little bit. Because there's actually two shows that made both top 10 lists, only two. So Apple's top shows in order, from first to 10th. So number 1, Crime Junkie. Number 2, The Daily. Number 3, Dateline NBC. Number 4, SmartList. Number 5, This American Life. Number 6, Morbid. Number 7, Up First. Number 8, Huberman Lab. Number 9, Hidden Brain. Number 10, Stuff You Should Know. And then the other side, on Spotify's top 10 list, shocker to nobody, The Joe Rogan Experience. Number 1, Call Her Daddy. Number 2. Could have told you that before the list came out. Number 3, Huberman Lab, which made both lists. Number 4, Anything Goes with Emma Chamberlain, which I believe is a Spotify original podcast, right? If I'm not mistaken on that one. On Purpose with Jay Sheedy, Crime Junkie, which made both lists. This Past Weekend with Theo Vaughn, Serial Killers. That's another one that is a Spotify original podcast. 9 is the Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. And number 10, TED Talks Daily. So only 2 shows, both lists. Again, 2 of the top 10 in Spotify are only in Spotify, right? So you really bring
as of this year, Emma Chamberlain's is no longer exclusive to Spotify.
Right.
It started as exclusive to Spotify, but it no longer is that.
Right. But it didn't make Apple's list, nor did Serial Killers, which again, Spotify, if you remember, they had a lot of shows that were only on Spotify, and then somewhere during the year, they opened it up and allowed them to be out there to the world. So I would say you really only have 6 out of the top 10 that you can really say are apples to apples or Spotify to Apple comparison. And of those 6, 2, Huberman Lab and Crime Junkie made both lists.
Yeah, I think that something to call attention to, particularly through the Spotify end of things, and this is just a commentary of me just looking at the names of the podcast people, okay? It seems to me that demographically speaking, the audience for the podcasts of the top podcasts in Apple Podcasts, I would say, are more aged. I would say Gen Y. possibly, maybe late Gen Y, Generation X, like folks who have been listening to podcasts for a while now that are moving into their 40s, 50s, 60s. That's what I would assume are consuming this content. Whereas the Spotify's top 100 is a much younger audience there, especially like looking at Call Her Daddy, Emma Chamberlain, Theo Vaughn, all of those there. Those are a much younger audience all the way around there.
Absolutely. Spotify has always had a younger, skewed, even heavier female demographic than what Apple Podcasts has.
Absolutely. And so I think that there's something to be said about the future of the medium and making sure that you are, this is actually going to take me off topic here for a moment, but there was like a horrible news that came out from Meta, how they were, I think in 2019 or something like this, they found out and they sort of banked into trying their best to market to 13-year-olds or something like that. I haven't read the story. This is really just reporting that I have heard in other podcasts and whatnot. So I haven't really gone down the source onto this. But it seemed that they knew that a lot of the advertising was going to and being catered to appeal to 13-year-olds in 2019-ish time frame. And obviously, their platforms are not supposed to have 13-year-olds on. But one of the reasons they did it is because they wanted to get the folks that are there then, right? So that's 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So these 13-year-olds are now 18. And so they've nurtured the future, essentially. That's what they're doing. They're there to make sure that people that are younger, when they get to an age, it's embedded into their lifestyle. And that's what Spotify is doing right now.
They hired their marketing people from the tobacco industry?
No, not Spotify. Maybe Meta. Maybe Meta. But yeah, parallels are being obviously made by that. And it's exactly that play. Now, if you turn it into a positive, right, like frame it in the sense that investing in the future and the future listenership, they really are going on. That's why the development for really helping the new, like, what is it, TikTok stars and all of that and getting them into podcasts. I think that was one of their top podcast of the year as well. What was her name? She's another blonde young person that's dating an athlete. I forgot what her name is. Anyway, but she's got one of the top podcasts on Spotify as well. And yeah, they're getting a whole entire demographic because all they want to know is about her love life. They've got them.
I just hope it's not the one dating Josh Giddey.
I don't know. I don't know.
Don't worry, there's a bunch of sports fans who just cringed and go, "Oh, he went there."
Oh, okay. Sorry, I have no idea I can't even remember what the girl's name is. But anyway, but other than that, though, I'm really surprised too in terms of the most shared shows of these. Scamanda was one of the ones that I was obsessed with last year, Rob. So I'm actually very surprised that that's the number one top shared show. But at the same time, I'm also not surprised because my jaw was like, I was obsessed with that show.
What is Scamanda about? I mean, not even familiar. Scamanda
was about this young woman who essentially, made a lot of money by pretending to be dying of cancer.
Oh, okay. I know that story. Yeah.
And it was horrible. Like she was part of like some kind of Christian church too. And she swindled the church into donating to her. And she went I think that the most intriguing part of it all is how committed she was to the whole thing. Like she would post about it and write blogs about it. And she was really specific. Like, I went to the hospital today and they did, like, she had pictures of herself in the hospital. She had IVs in her. She was doing she went all out and she scammed most people in her life. And it was really quite a story where I was just like, what?
It's really riveting. You do need to listen to that podcast. It's like you just go, what? And I can understand why it's the most shared, because you want to tell other people about it and go like, can you believe this? This is crazy. So anyway, that was really great for me to see. And I think the other stuff is like the most shared episodes. I really loved seeing the most shared episodes because in looking at them, I thought, wow, it's the psychology of the people who are listening to podcasts and Apple Podcasts, you know, like the first one is what alcohol does to your body, brain, and health. That's the most shared episode of 2023, Rob.
Hey.
How telling is that?
Maybe you are getting a younger audience over on Apple Podcasts now.
I know. Or it's the opposite. It's like people who are like in their 50s going like, should I stop drinking now? Is that why my brain is suffering so much? Anyway, if you want to look at all the lists, please head over to the link in our show notes for some of that stuff. Okay, and here's our first email of the episode. Hi, Rob. It's been a while since I've done any specific manual sound manipulation of my own in Audacity. Once Audio Cupcake replaced Levelator, I just used that before uploading my episodes, but that was before Libsyn began offering Studio. Now that I'm preparing to launch a new show, I'm confusing myself again, all while trying to determine what, if anything, sounds better. My imagined dilemma. Just upload to Libsyn Studio, an MP3 with no mastering on my end in Audacity. Just upload the MP3 Audio Cupcake produces. Go back to Levelator and create a new MP3. I haven't even checked to see if Levelator is still being updated and supported. Buck the whole system and upload a WAV file I have mastered manually in Audacity. Something else. I should specify that my new podcast is being recorded in StreamYard for now, as my new partner is remote and we plan to use the video as well. If you're not already shaking your head at me too hard, perhaps you wouldn't mind quickly sharing your own current podcast workflow with me. There are bigger fish to fry. I just want to make sure I'm doing 2023's version of best sound practices. I know they still vary sometimes, but I literally use compress, limiter, and normalize prior to Audio Cupcake. Enough out of me. I just want to pick your brain. I begin with StreamYard, produced MP3, and then let me know if you'd like a link to our pilot episode. It is currently the result of taking the StreamYard MP3, making a wave, running that wave through Audio Cupcake, uploading Cupcake's MP3 to Libsyn Studio, and then letting Studio run its final step. Or would you suggest not using Studio? Regards, Rich M. Oh my God, that was a lot.
Okay, so hi, Rich. Up until October, my workflow was run the audio file through Levelator, then edit it in GarageBand using SoundSoap plugin to do cleanup on a track-by-track basis. Then in October, my MacBook Pro 2019 with Intel processor crashed and burned, and I needed to get a new MacBook Pro, which I did, which has a M2 processor from Apple. Sadly, Levelator does not support Apple chips, MX, any of the M1, 2, or 3 processors. So I have now updated my process to use a program on my Mac called 2 Audio Converter. I mentioned that on the last episode. I've been playing with that in the last couple of weeks. So that's TO space audio space converter to replace. So I bought that. It was like $30 to replace Levelator step. I am still playing with this program and tweaking it to get the results, but I think I've got it where I need it. The rest of the process is the same. Still editing and cleaning up in GarageBand with SoundSoap as a plugin on a track-by-track basis. I then export the finished, edited, cleaned up recording from GarageBand to Apple Music, and in Apple Music, I convert it to MP3 and add ID3 tags, then upload the final MP3 to my Libsyn account. That's my workflow. I would recommend that you just upload the finished MP3 and not use Studio to do that. It was meant for people that are on a lower end, but you've got the tools and everything you need, so there's no reason for you to use the Studio tools. So I would recommend that you upload the finished MP3, how you want it to be downloaded to the end users. That's would be my recommendation. And again, if you're on a Mac, which it sounds like you are, you could look at the program, again, called 2 Audio Converter. And then you just got to tweak a little bit with the settings to get it to do the right normalization and raising of things and lowering. It doesn't really lower, but it does raise things. So that is my workflow.
If you want to, you could actually even, what I would think, even doing some of the stuff that you're doing on StreamYard there's a possibility you could also use Audio Hijack for some of that stuff. And you can set the levels off of so that you record it locally on your computer. That's the thing that you could possibly do. But in StreamYard, I think if you make sure that when you're recording in StreamYard, your levels are set as best as possible, because it seems to me that you're doing a co-hosted show, you should be doing pretty good. It records in stereo. You do get wave files out of that. You are able to also remove sort of like an auto duck feature that is there so that you have a couple of clean files when you're recording straight from StreamYard. They're really upping the quality of that. I would actually export the wave file from StreamYard versus the MP3 file so that you don't do what you're doing from MP3 to wave back to MP3, because that's making the quality of the audio a little funky-dory there. Yeah. And then you could hear the level, and then, the leveler part, I think you could, if you set it correctly from the get-go, I don't think you have to mess with it too much. That's what I would say.
All right.
We're still testing, people. We're still testing. Okay. So then now what else? What are we doing now? theblackpodcasting.com. Tell me about this.
All right. So the folks at the Black Podcasting app directory ask we mention if you folks out there have a Black or urban podcast that you submit to their directory. Per their site, quote, "Our mission, we make it easy for you to discover, connect, and engage with thousands of high-quality Black podcasters. Black Podcasting will be the largest gathering of Black podcasters in the world. We are creating a non-exclusive directory of urban podcasts, whether you have 5 followers or 500,000 followers. This platform is for you, and it's absolutely free," unquote. We'll have a link to the submit page in the show notes for episode 257. So again, if you have a Black urban podcast, you should submit there. It's, again, non-exclusive and there's no cost. And it's just one of those places that will fit your niche and your audience, and good place to get discovered if you are a Black or urban podcast.
And just to mention the URL again, it's actually very simple, blackpodcasting.com. And you can, when you head over there, just check out what they're about there
and then,
at the end.
And the submit page is /submit-podcast.
Yeah, so you'll be able to see that. But if not, just tap the link in the show notes. We will have it there so that you can do that if this is your place. Okay, this is a great time to transfer over to promo number 2. This is Creatively Shaded.
That's why we get all these people out of the Bay doing our shows. Bay Area folks are just as good as New York folks. We just don't have as many opportunities. I don't see the benefit to our community when someone from outside our community is taking work from someone within the community. The joke in Seattle was, "Oh, you just got to go to New York for like a month, audition, and you'll get placed here."
Thank you so much. And folks, that was this little snippet from Creatively Shaded, a Black artist's POV on Bay Area theater. And one interesting thing that this group of folks does is that they do this like the trailer that you just heard was also a little video trailer that is kind of neat. So they sort of, you could do both. Like it could be a video, it could be an audio, and it's kind of nice.
And hopefully they've submitted their podcast to Black Podcasting.
I know, it kind of like matched right up.
Yeah.
Then I will let them know that they're going to be on the show and that they need to put their show in there if they haven't already. Okay, here's another email. Hey, Rob, first, I want to wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. Secondly, I signed up for a free 30-day month of IMDb Pro. I have emailed 25 stars, managers, and PR people. Got 4. They are busy or unavailable. Is there no secret to getting them to come on, or is it just luck? Regards, NR.
Hi, NR. It requires creativity, describing your podcast to make it an attractive option for them. You have to be creative. If you had other celebrities on the show, mention them. If not, you need to talk about your show in a way that they want their clients to come on your show. These are PR people. Be creative, maybe even stretch reality a little.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires good timing. It's not just about being creative also. It's really about good timing. And that's reaching out to the PR contact for an actor that is going, let's say you reach out to the PR person and the actor is going off to film a movie for the next 3 months. That's bad timing, right? Because that person doesn't have time to do the PR stuff. You want to look for actors that have a project coming out in the next 3 months that they will need to promote. And a lot of these actors have in their agreements, they have to go and do X amount of public promotion of the project. You need to catch them in promotion mode. Then you are saving that PR person some work. You are then their friend. You become an item to check off on their list of needing XX number of public promotions for XYZ project for that actor. He then sent me his email that he sends out to the PR contacts.
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to read it. I'm just going to give my feedback because it was not good.
Okay.
He mentioned being popular on a podcast hosting service. And I said, ditch that.
Yeah.
Most people have no idea about hosting companies, right? So don't mention XYZ hosting company. It does not matter. They don't know Libsyn or Podbean or Buzzsprout or anybody, right? So don't get into the weeds. And there was no customization on the email. It was a form email and will get deleted before they make it to the second sentence. He goes, well, 4 people replied saying, so they read some part. I'm like, no, they probably didn't. I said he needed to customize for each email why their client, XYZ client, would be a good guest on their show. I mean, getting celebrities will require work and research for each target, right? And do any of those guests have ADHD or a child with ADHD? Same with autism, because this was an ADHD and autism podcast, right? So he needed to look into that. And you need to connect the dots from the celebrity to your show for the PR person. It will take work for each one, but getting 50% hit rate on 10 emails is better than a 0% hit rate on 100 emails. Quality over quantity when reaching out to celebs or other podcast hosts. Do your research. And when dealing with PR people, it's about making their job easier. Give them all the reasons their client would be a good fit for your show and help them check off that checkbox, the list of PR, public relation appearances that their client needs to meet and why you're one of them.
You guys, especially if you have a niche, it's actually it's better because there's a lot of celebrities are also currently doing a lot of personal things, either building businesses on their own, pitching products on their own, partnering on their own, doing something specific that might actually speak to your stuff, to your topic for ADHD and or autism and things like that. There's a lot of celebrities that are coming out and mentioning these things that they've now been diagnosed with or they recognize about themselves and understanding that kind of stuff. There's a lot of, celebrities out there that are creating products to address needs that they found were missing in their lives that they really want to talk about. There's all kinds of them that are writing books. There's a ton of celebrities that are writing books that are wanting to get on shows, starting to talk to podcasts now about those books that are coming out, particularly if it appeals to their audience. So I really do feel that if that book is coming out and or product is coming out that addresses a very specific need, they want to get as many people on board with that. Like there's been, one of the shows that I started watching, listening to is like a beauty show, like a beauty and makeup type show. And they've had a couple of really big hitters. Like they had Courtney Cox come on. And I was like, why did she come on this podcast? Like I couldn't, when I first saw it, I was like, why is she on this? And well, it turns out that she has, she has a home brand. It's not necessarily beauty, but she's got like, home smelly stuff, like, candles and like little spray and all of that stuff. And both of the
hosts were raving about her brand and it's so great. And we used it here and all, and they still talked about makeup and all kinds of other stuff like that too. But it was just no wonder they said yes, right? Who doesn't want to have to talk about their fun things to get eyes? I didn't know Courtney Cox. Now I want to buy this smelly spray that costs $45.
Yeah, I mean, the only smelly candle stuff I know about is from Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, see? Now you know. Courtney Cox has it too, and it's a $45 room spray, Rob, that I guess is really great. And because I heard her on the show talk about how she came up with this, I want to buy this room spray for $45. Okay. So that's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so worth it for a celebrity to go on a show to do that. Anyway. All right. Here's another email. Hi, Rob. In the feed 256, you mentioned that the Libsyn 5 player is now accessible friendly. I manage several clients' websites using the embedded Libsyn 5 player. Will the updates you mentioned automatically apply to current embedded players, or do I need to update the embed codes on all of these sites? Regards. This is from Mark DeCoates.
All right. So, hi, Mark. No need to replace the embed code. Updates should be applied automatically. And so you and your clients do not need to replace their current embed codes. This per the accessibility features, per controlling with the keyboard and all that. And we did just add another update this past week for the player, which allows you to now change the font color. FYI, any changes to color schemes of the player, the controls are now also the fonts. Those do require updates of the embed code. So the accessibility features that were around controlling the player, no need to update the embed code. The accessibility features around color themes and contrast, those you would need to change the color schemes and then re-embed. So overall, I believe now our player would be level AA for ADA compliance. Not something we have had audited or certified just based on what we've added. I personally would say it is level AA and closer to AAA, but to get true AAA is a lot. And so I'm not going to say we're AAA, but we do have a lot there. And if we do get it certified, we'll let you know. But it's definitely AA, in my opinion, and closer to AAA.
Okay, and then now we have a voicemail for this episode. Here we go.
Hey, Elsie. Hey, Rob. All right, here's my question. I have a few of my podcast management clients asking to switch from weekly episodes to seasonal episodes where, say, for instance, they put out 12 weekly episodes and then they pause for a month or 2 months and then come back with another season. I'm curious if you have any stats or data on whether they are going to retain their listeners. I guess my question overall is this going to be shooting themselves in the foot, so to speak, or as the ever prominent thing of staying consistent in podcasting, is that still king now in 2023, 2024?
Thank you, Kristen.
First, let me say this. You should not release a show more often than you have time and bandwidth mentally to handle.
And income or like, budget.
Or
That's another.
That too.
Or budget.
Yeah. If you're paying someone to do it, yes. For this question, let's first go under the assumption that her clients can just as easily release content weekly as seasonally. Then clearly keep doing the podcast weekly, especially if any of the goal of the show is to grow an audience. There is not any data I've ever seen anywhere that shows that going seasonal will have an advantage over going weekly per audience engagement. However, if the client is strapped for time and or money and a seasonal timeline works best, then go there. Right? But again, if your client's goal is to grow a show, then being consistent with your release cadence would be highly recommended. And weekly is the best consistent release schedule to get on if you can do it. Mm-hmm. Additionally, going to seasons will require you to reactivate your audience as each season kicks off, which if you do not have a strong social media presence or a kick-butt organic email list, you will find more and more difficult the longer the gap is between seasons. If podcasting is just one of the things your clients do to engage with their audience followers, then seasonal can be fine. But for us mere mortals, where we don't have a stronger audience presence away from podcasting, keeping it weekly would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most challenging things. We get this question a lot. And as of now, I think the data around that is not as clear. Also, if you do seasonally, my suggestion would be to do this, obviously, to have a strong marketing plan pre-launch, during the launch, and post-launch. Like all of those three things need to be in place. So, and it's different. It can have some of the same content, but the way in which you go to potential audience is different. The messaging is slightly different between obviously pre, during, and post. And then there's another aspect of it during that post is that messaging of stay tuned for season 2. When does that start? To be able to really start that process. So it's not so much about the release. We're already thinking, Rob and I are now really thinking that this show is good. It's a good, solid show. And if that's the case, you have a lot of great material for you to market the show, but you have to think about it in that expansive way versus now it's done, right? And because that marketing, even if like the show, if people are not seeing an episode on their feeds consistently and they got used to having that release, then you're going to have to do something to keep them being reminded about you somehow. Whenever there's not a show coming out, something needs to be coming out from your channels, either on social, a newsletter, I don't know, press releases, coverage on social, coverage on your local and or any other publications, and have that be that conversation moving forward.
Got one more email here.
Hi, Elsie and Rob. In your latest episode 255, if I'm not mistaken, Rob mentioned that the URL of the podcast website can be changed. About 3 years ago, I changed the name of my podcast from, I don't even know how to say this, Rob.
Okay, this is someone let their 3-year-old type on the keyboard for 30 seconds. And now to only where the keyboard is being tapped on for 5 seconds.
Yes, it is a lot. It's real. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of words from, long word that is.
It's not a word. It's just a lot of letters.
It's a lot of letters, like 20 plus letters to only 10 letters together. And of course, I would like to change the URL as well to not confuse my listeners. Rob mentioned Libsyn 5 settings. Can I change in Libsyn 4 as well by changing the website address? Will there be any undesired consequences? Thank you in advance. Regards, Amy.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for the email. And per changing the URL for your podcast website that you get from Libsyn, that is only something you can change in the Libsyn 5 UI. In the Libsyn 5 UI, go to Settings, then Website, then go down where it says Website URL, and then select from the drop-down Personalized Libsyn Domain. Then in the box that appears below, you can add in your custom slug for your website URL. Of course, make sure to click Save after you make the changes. And a little suggestion, if you're going to do this, pick something people can spell easily and remember easily. So you might want to think of something other than ASZOOSSZEHOZ. Just saying.
Yes. Okay. And now we are moving to promo number 3, to all the men I've tolerated before.
I have a question. Have you been out with family or friends and then someone says something really gross and misogynistic, but you can't really call them on it because it's a common belief and it's so subtle no one even realized it was icky? Yeah, we talk about instances like that every week on To All the Men I've Tolerated Before, your weekly look at everyday misogyny. Join us wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've got some stats, mean, and median news, Rob.
No, we don't. Sadly, there is no median and mean numbers for this episode. I will do those and the user agent numbers combined on the next episode. Sorry, folks, I didn't get those pulled before this episode. We're still in November,
but that's okay because we'll have like a finished big, all together in the next
our last episode of the year.
Right. But we did have a PR go out. In hindsight, it'll now be December 1st when it goes out, but we have it early here. But anyway, this PR went out on December 1st and it was titled Libsyn Unveils November 2023 Podcast Advertising Rates and 5 Developments to Watch in 2024. First up, our AdvertiseCast team updated their monthly podcast advertising rates. These rates, which are denoted as cost per thousand or CPM, the data is derived from actual sales data from across the thousands of podcasts in the AdvertiseCast marketplace. For November 2023, the average CPM rate was $22.94 for a 60-second spot. That figure is up 2.5% compared to last month, which was $22.37. And has decreased year over year. November 2022 average CPM rate was $24.58. The 3 highest CPM categories in November based on delivered advertising were kids and family at $27, arts at $26, and education at $25. So kids and family picking up a little bit heading into the holidays. Moreover, 3 categories where advertisers can effectively tap into highly engaged audiences at a more accessible CPM rate include history, TV and film, and true crime, which averaged around the low 20s in September. Average means average. Some shows had higher rates, some had lower. Also from the PR, quote, and Dave Hanley, Chief Revenue Officer of Libsyn AdvertiseCast, outlines 5 predictions for podcast advertising in 2024, underscoring the industry's continued momentum. First, persistent brand safety concerns put to rest. Advertisers will become more comfortable with brand safety in podcast channel due to recent technology and procedural developments. The emphasis will shift towards brand suitability, authenticity in tone, and aligning with the right content creators. As brands recognize this, the call to action will be clear. Don't sit on the sidelines in 2024. Leverage the genuine connection podcasts offer to engage audiences effectively. Second, AI-powered contextual targeting expands ad inventory. Libsyn's AdvertiseCast expects a rise in adoption of AI and predictive contextual targeting in the year ahead, leveraging innovative tools to provide accurate context to content will unlock a wealth of relevant inventory for advertisers. This ensures that their messages resonate with intended audiences, driving precise targeting and ad effectiveness while eliminating waste. Third, regional and local ad boom with data-driven precision. Libsyn's AdvertiseCast anticipates more regional and local advertisers will enter the podcast advertising space, fueled by growing interest in data-driven targeting. Advertisers will now geo-target with increased precision and at scale to connect with desired local podcast audiences across hundreds of audience segments. And I'll just add my own little thought here. There'll be a lot of that going on come the November elections. This is going to be a big election year, and you're going to have local elections, all the congressional races. I think you're going to see some of that coming in. So if you, as a podcaster, want to generate some revenue, extra revenue, allow political campaigns to be on there. Just let your audience know that they're not people if they're not your voice, you're not endorsing them. They're just advertising like they do on the radio. You might as well grab some of that money, folks, if you're going to take advertising. Fourth, surge in video enhancing discoverability. The growing popularity of video podcasts will see the further blurring of lines between audio and video. Libsyn's AdvertiseCast, which already offers a simulcast ad product to advertisers, recognizes the significant advantage of using video to improve podcast discoverability. This approach amplifies the reach and impact for creators, thereby attracting more advertisers. Side note, again, we've been telling you for 10 plus years, connect with YouTube from your Libsyn account to get your content out there. It's a great place for discoverability, folks. So if you haven't gone into settings and social and connected your YouTube account, do it. It's really easy to do. It takes a few minutes. You just create a playlist over on YouTube, connect to that, and then we convert the audio to video and pump it into the YouTube for you. Finally, fifth, cause-based advertising, an untapped opportunity. An untapped opportunity lies in the underutilization of cause-based advertising collaborating with podcast hosts. The influential voice of podcast hosts presents a powerful platform for promoting social and environmental causes, and this synergy fosters impactful conversations and prompts actions. Beyond cause-based campaigns, we see this strategy being applied for political advertisers gearing up for the 2024 election cycle. Oh, see, there he got to it. All right. Hanley commented, he also had a quote here, quote, and this is from Dave Hanley, quote, podcasting has emerged as one of the fastest growing advertising channels, and its trajectory remains on an upward curve with greater access to sophisticated audience-based targeting and attribution measurement. New advertisers are capitalizing on the expanding opportunities to achieve their brand goals, be it direct response or brand awareness. We've been at the forefront of delivering new capabilities for advertisers. And since introducing programmatic ads in August 2022, we've witnessed a threefold increase in advertisers utilizing our automatic ad solution, unquote. Well, thanks, Dave and team, for keeping the space educated on where average ad rates are for podcasting on a per ad read basis and where the ad space is going to be going in 2024. Of course, folks, if you are interested in advertising on a podcast, maybe to promote your own show to a similar audience, please email me, rob@libsyn.com, and I can get you to the right people. And AdvertiseCast can help you grow your show or sell your product. A lot of you work for companies, need to sell product. Tell your marketing team, hey, you guys should be advertising on podcasts. Again, email me directly, rob@libsyn.com, if you're looking to advertise on other podcasts.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you. Perfect. And where have we been? Oh, my gosh. I don't really have too many places that I've been, really.
I haven't. Gobble, gobble, gobble. It was here. I stayed here.
Oh, yeah, we were just like, that's what we're doing. But we are going somewhere special. Yes. Hello. We are going to be doing a live December 7th. You guys have to show up. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be Rob and Dave and Brian and I. And we are going to be talking about our favorite things in 2023. We're going to keep it positive and happy. And we're going to talk about news and hardware and software and workflows and things that made us happy within the podcasting space and maybe more. Who knows? So it's going to be great. Please show up and hang out with us. And we're going to have, I believe, a couple little things to give away. So that should be fun.
And that is 2 p.m. Eastern Time, December 7th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Be there. Link in the show.
All right.
All right. And where else we're going to be going? I'll be speaking at PodFest in Orlando, January 25th, 28th. And Libsyn will again be exhibiting at the show. And we will have the Podcaster Hall of Fame event there. So excited about that. I will be at NRB, National Religious Broadcaster Event here in Nashville, February 20th, 23rd. We'll be exhibiting at that show. If you are a faith-based podcast and you are going to be or want to be at the show and would like a exhibit pass and willing to hang out the booth for an hour for 2 different days, let me know. Email me, rob@libsyn.com. Of course, for all these shows, you want to send us your business cards. And we'll be at Podcast Movement Evolutions in LA, March 26th to 29th. And we'll be at NAB's main show in Las Vegas, April 14th to 17th. So please, folks, if you are not going to the shows I just mentioned and you host on Libsyn and you want your cards at the shows, please send me an email, rob@libsyn.com. Actually, I had a few people email me since the last show about that. So we get some new cards out there. And switching gears, where are you going? Well, if you are looking for a job in podcasting, make sure you go to podcastingjobs.com. As of the beginning of December, we had 2 openings listed there. And then finally, don't forget to send in your feedback for anything we did or did not mention on this episode. You can record that feedback and email it to us at thefeed@libsyn.com, thefeed@libsyn.com, or you can call us at 412-573-1934, or finally, you can use SpeakPipe at speakpipe.com/thefeed. That's it for this show.
That's it for the show. All right. Well, thank you so much, folks. And then we'd love to have you download our episode for the next episode, our last episode of 2023. And that's it. Talk with you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Ciao.